Shalom and good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Today, Wednesday, we are still at the beginning of the month of Cheshvan, Gimel Cheshvan to be precise. And we are still also in the middle of the war. Israel is at war. We are in the middle of the war. It's not a simple war. It's not an easy war, as we see. And today the shir is going to be about strengthening our belief and our certainty in Hashem that He will actually protect us, keep our soldiers safe, make them victorious, and perhaps more important is give the leaders the power to and the knowledge and the wisdom to make the right decisions and and to carry out this operation in the best way possible for the Geula of Am Yisrael. So we are going to speak a bit about the concept of trust and in Hashem, not only trust in Hashem, but also real, what is called bitachon. Sometimes it's translated as security, certainty, that we can truly, truly trust Hashem and be so confident that He will make us victorious in this war. What is the best path to leave the shir today, basically, with a happy feeling, with a good feeling, with a feeling of certainty that Hashem will actually protect us? And sometimes this might even be a bit of a challenging question, and perhaps it's not always that obvious. Perhaps this is something that can be challenged, because we do unfortunately see that there are also terrible things that happen, that occur. So we are trying to find the right path, basically, in this journey, because it is a journey. And it's a journey, first of all, of the war, but it's not only a journey of the war. This is a journey of a lifetime. And we always, or not always, but sometimes we might come across challenging situations, certain situations that are that seem uncertain, that seem unclear. And in this case, we do want to make sure that we can have the right feeling and the right trust in Hashem. We want to make sure that the morale of ourselves and of us as a nation is up high. So how do we basically do it? How do we actually feel confident that this war, Am Yisrael, will actually be victorious, that Am Yisrael will actually win this war? And even if we bring it down to a detailed question, in our daily life, how can we actually make sure that things that seem challenging, we will interpret them in the right way and in a positive way? So we spoke a lot about the question. This has to do actually also with our parsha, with Parshas Noach. The story of Parshas Noach is a very, very interesting story. And what is perhaps most interesting is the details. We know the general story. The people were wicked at that time, and Hashem did not approve of their behavior, and He decided to restart the world, to destroy the existing world, and to build a new world with Noach, with his sons. And that's what happened. There was a flood for 40 days and for 40 nights. And Noach built his ark. He brought his family. He brought all the animals also. And Luckily, they survived with Hashem's guidance. They survived the flood, and after 40 days and 40 nights, they rest ashore. And what happens then is something very interesting. Noach decides to bring an offering to Hashem. He brings an offering to Hashem, and Hashem says, yes, I accept your offering. And not only that, but I will not punish the entire world at once like I did now. And Rashi says, for that reason, there was never a flood since the times of Noach that destroyed the entire world. Rashi does say that there is a possibility of a flood that might destroy a third of the world. That's the maximum that it can destroy. But destroying the entire world, Hashem says, never again. That's not where the story of Noach ends. Noach, besides bringing the offering, he also makes a vineyard. And he makes this vineyard in order to make wine out of the grapes. And when he makes this wine out of the grapes, of course, he says, L'chaim, he drinks a bit of wine, and he drinks a bit too much wine. And what happens over there is that he drinks too much wine, he gets drunk, and his son, Ham, he had 3 sons, Noach. Noach had Shem, Ham, and Yefes. Shem is, of course, the father of Avraham, right? The head of the tribe of Shem. His Shem's descendants are Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, of course, and there is also Yishmael. Yishmael is also a descendant of Shem. Yefes, his descendants are Edom, Rome, Italy, what is today most common to know is the general civilization of the Gentiles in the Western countries. And Ham is the 3rd son. For example, the Egyptians, the original Egyptians, they come from Ham. So Ham disrespected his father. There are several tales about what exactly he did, how exactly he disrespected him. The most common tale is what Rashi tells us, that Ham saw his father without any clothes, and he looked at him. He looked at him, and the other children, Yefes and Shem, they covered their eyes with clothes until they wrapped the father up in the best manner of respect. And in that manner of showing the respect, basically what Ham did, what Shem and Yefes, the 2 older sons, what they did was showing the father extra respect, caring about his honor, and not seeing him in an uncomfortable place, in an uncomfortable situation. Ham did not have this midat tovah, this special attribute, and he was there. He saw his father without clothes. He didn't show any respect, and that's why it says he was actually punished, and his nature changed slightly. So this is the story. It's an interesting story. It shows us, first of all, that we have to show respect to our parents. And even generally, we have to show respect to any person, even if he's not our parents. We've got to show dignity to others. We've got to make sure that we treat others with the right respect, especially when they are in uncomfortable situations, etc. And there's a very famous Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, and perhaps this has to do also with the methods that an army should treat its enemies, because this is always a topic that sometimes it's controversial, sometimes we find it hard to explain, sometimes we find it hard to explain to ourselves, sometimes we might find it hard to explain to others, to the nations around us. I don't think that we really need to explain to them. The Rebbe always said that Am Yisrael has to do what is right for us without needing to explain to others. but also to ourselves and perhaps still to others. Try to make it clear what is the border, what is the right reaction that the army should take when it faces the enemies. More of a humane, respecting way, or maybe a bit more of a harsh way. And why is it so easily permitted to actually use harsh methods to basically gain control and to defeat our enemies? So this is all basically hidden in the story of Noach, or the last part of the story of Noach, unfortunately getting drunk, Ham disrespecting him, and the other two sons treating him in a respectful way, in a good way. And the Gemara says that we learn, and this is based also connected to what the Baal Shem Tov is going to tell us in a moment. The Gemara says that we should not say or speak in an impure way. We should not use bad words, profanity, or anything like that to express ourselves. And the Gemara brings a proof. The Gemara brings a proof from the Haftarah that we learned, if I'm not mistaken, it was last week, about the story of Yehonatan and David, the two very, very close good friends, that Yehonatan tells his father, David is not here sitting and eating with us, even though it's Rosh Chodesh, because he might be impure. And he doesn't say he might be impure. He uses the words, he might not be pure. And the word for that in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, in the holy language, is tameh. Tameh means impure, but it is the bad side of purity. It's the opposite of purity. But the Torah doesn't use that term. The Torah says he is not pure, which means we try and speak in the most respectful way possible. And the Baal Shem Tov tells us that a person, he extended this idea, and he basically brings an added value to this idea by saying that if a person sees anything bad in someone else, he should know that he's really, truly looking at a mirror. He is looking at that bad attribute that he sees at someone else, and he should know that this bad attribute actually is something that rests within him. It's something that he suffers from. And that's why he sees that in his friend. This is a very interesting idea of the Baal Shem Tov. This is a new way of looking at things, a new way of treating others, but this is also questionable. The idea of the Baal Shem Tov is, once again, that if I see something that my friend did something bad, right? I'm in shul and I see someone who is talking in shul. So that means if I see a bad attribute, a bad act, a bad nature, that means that that nature is inside me, and my friend is a mirror to me. And the first question that comes up is, well, who said so? Perhaps I am honestly seeing something bad that a person is doing, and I am trying to prevent him from that, or I'm trying to point it out to him, or at least I know that this is not the way to behave. Why does it mean that it's a reflection of what is really going on inside of me? Perhaps I am witnessing another person's bad behavior. And that's not the only question, but in that case, if every bad thing that I see in someone else is basically a reflection of what's going on inside me, then how can I help others? How can I fix others? You know, the Torah itself says, which means you should go and you should speak to your fellow friend about his behavior, or about things that perhaps might not be the right way 100%. And the Torah says that you should go and, out of care, try and teach him the right way. But if I see something and it immediately says that I'm the bad person over here, how can I possibly do such a thing? So let's start with this is something that perhaps perhaps you can relate to more or less. It's not something that the Rebbe speaks about specifically over here. Soon we will get to the Rebbe's explanation. But the truth is that people speak, people feel, people see according to their terms and according to their personal understanding. For example, for me, knowing that this is a bad behavior is only because within me, I can interpret it as something really bad. If I come from a different culture and from a different place, from a different country, even let's say from a different planet, right? And I come into this world, certain things might not actually be bad in my eyes. And this is only, of course, certain behaviors. Certain behaviors are up to interpretation, but perhaps in a deeper level, people speak out what they actually are. People express themselves and people observe things that fit into their terms, in their understanding, and in the way that they understand things. So in extreme behaviors, we can't really find that, right? If someone steals, everyone would agree that that's bad behavior. But if someone uses a certain expression, if someone uses a certain level of respect towards others, this could be up to interpretation. I, for example, let's say, respect extra, right? A person from a different culture respects less. So this is basically the point is that if a person sees something bad that someone else is doing, it's because he still has that bad feeling within him. And that is what's driving him and leading him to speak to his friends about it. So perhaps you're stopping yourself, preventing yourself from doing it, but the bad still is there inside you. So it's a mirror to basically observe and to see how, on the one hand, yes, this is someone that isn't behaving in the right way, but that is because I understand it, that it is something bad. Now, that's the first level. But the Rebbe makes it very, very clear, and this is the true explanation to this whole idea. And this has to do with the question of how should we actually treat our enemies. So let's take a look the way the Torah actually describes impure situations. We will find that in certain cases, the Torah does use impure language such as tameh. Yes, the Torah, you'll find many, many cases that the Torah actually does use the word tameh. We can find it in many, many cases. How does the Torah use such bad language? Why does the Torah use such extreme language saying that this is tameh, that this is impure? We just said that the Torah teaches us, speak in a nice way. And as a proof, the Gemara brings the story of Yehonatan and David, that Yehonatan tells his father, he doesn't say that David is tameh. He says that David is lo tahor. He's not pure. But we don't want to use extreme language. We don't want to use strong language. We don't want to use, of course, bad language. But on the other hand, the Torah does tell us in many cases that this food is tameh and this food is tahor. We do use the terms of tameh. And not only we use the words tameh, there are other stories that the Torah does go into details of, unfortunately, bad things. And the Gemara gives a very clear answer. The Gemara says that when it has to do with halakha, when it has to do with action, what a person has to do, you have to be very, very precise and clear. When the Torah wants to tell us how to act and how to behave and what is kosher and what is not, you use the terms that this is kosher and this is tameh. This is not kosher in the extreme language that you can that's possible. Why is that? Because when it comes to the action, to the halakha, to what we call it sometimes tachlis, bottom line, can I eat it or not? There's no room to using nice language, respecting them. Yes, of course, in the right terms, in the right way. We're not talking about don't lose your mind ever. But when it has to do with a general story, for example, a story. So it's nice to tell a story in a good way. It's nice to tell a story in good letters. It's appropriate to use that kind of a good language. However, when it comes to details of what to do, how to act, you have to be precise, right? It's like when there's when the azaka goes off, right? When there's an alarm now and the siren is off, and we know that people have to evacuate a certain place. You're not going to tell people in a polite and nice way, go. You have to do it quickly, and Israel is very, very good at that. People here are so tense, and they're so they're so quick in the positive side because they are used to this lifestyle, of unfortunately attacks, where you have to be quick and you have to tell, okay, get out, get in. There's no room for extra respect in this case. Don't catch me on the word because this is just an example, right? So in many other cases, right, if a person needs his life saved, so, of course, you're going to use any tool that you have in order to save his life because there's nothing more important than that. Now, that we see it again in the Torah because the Torah does use the terms of tamei, and in many other cases, the Torah doesn't use it. Why? What's the difference? Because when it's to tell us what to do, to be precise, you have to tell exactly what to do. There can't be interpretations, this understanding, that understanding, this word. That it has to be accurate. Now, in a case where we're just telling a story and we are sitting together, we have all the time in the world. Yes, that is where the Torah teaches us, don't take the shortcut. Take the long route and make sure you say it with the full respect. And this has to do also with the way that we treat our enemies. We are in a situation where we have to say, what is the halakha? This is bottom line, tachlis. People are coming to kill us, and there's no question about it. We just saw it. And they wouldn't stop where they started. They're going to continue. And if we don't use the most precise language, or perhaps the most precise actions in this case, so we are going against the Torah, because the Torah itself tells us what terminology we should use in these situations, in these cases. Trying to dress up what happened in nice language, or perhaps trying to explain why did it happen, is the wrong thing to do. That is true inhumanity. To be merciful to people that are cruel is truly being cruel. People that are cruel, you have to treat them in the way that they deserve. Being merciful to them will end up being cruel to people that really deserve mercy. This is what the Torah says, and this is what history says. There's the famous story of the soldiers that went during the Independence War to an operation to Gush Etzion. And there is even a kibbutz that is called Kibbutz Netiv HaLamed Hey, not far from Beit Shemesh. Not far, there's another moshav in the area that is close by, Aviezer. It's not far from that whole area. And I'm sure perhaps even Gabriel is familiar with that moshav. I think it's close to where he is. So Netiv HaLamed Hey is named after 35 soldiers that were killed during the Independence War. And what happened was they went on a mission during the night to secure the Yishuvim, the settlements in Gush Etzion. And they came across a child that was a shepherd, and they said, we're not going to do anything to him. We're going to let him go. He went, and I'm telling you the story as a fact, as is. He went back to the people of the village, and they set a trap and they slaughtered all 35 soldiers to the extent that they couldn't identify them afterwards. And Rabbi Aryeh Levine, who used to live in Yerushalayim and walk right on these streets of King George Street, Yafo, and he was one of the greatest rabbis in the times right before the state of Israel was basically was declared and was built. He was one of the great rabbis that visited the prisoners that the British people, the British Empire, the British soldiers imprisoned, Jewish prisoners, of course, that were put here in prison in the Kishle and in the Migrash Harusim, close to the Jewish quarter in the Old City. And he basically did a special raffle in order to identify who exactly was who was who, because they could not recognize them. Unfortunately, terrible things like this happen. But do you know why they happen? And we have to be precise about it, because history teaches us. And not only history teaches us, but the Torah teaches us that in a time of a war, there is no room for mercy in this case. And we have to make sure that our soldiers stay safe. So I'm not saying what the solution is. I'm not saying what exactly should be done. Perhaps I don't know myself what exactly should be done in that case. But we have to know that when it comes to the halakha, which means the bottom line, tachlis, how to behave, there aren't any shortcuts and aren't any nice words to put it in. We have to be very, very precise, very accurate. So where do we start off with? I'm just turning on the laptop because my phone is about to die. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's just a bit extreme language. And here's a place where we can say good language. My phone is about to run out of battery. That sounds better. And that's where we can use it, right? And we should use it. That's what the Torah tells us. So where do we start off with? We spoke about the story of Noach. We spoke about the story of his sons. On the one hand, we have Shem and Ham, Shem and Yefes that were respectful to the father. On the other hand, we had Ham that was disrespectful. And we had this whole idea from the Baal Shem Tov that the Baal Shem Tov says, what you say to others is a mirror. What you say to others, what you think about others is a mirror to who you really are. And we tried to understand this idea of the Baal Shem Tov. We tried to understand it and tried to bring a bit of an explanation. And perhaps the Rebbe has here the right explanation based on the story of Noach. There are two ways to look at someone else. There are two ways to tell a person what should be done, what shouldn't be done. One way is to look at the technicality of things, to look at the tachlis of things, which means the bottom line. And there's another way to see the story behind it. You know, for example, if you see your friend that he speaks in the middle of davening, there are two ways to look at it. And there are two ways to speak to him about it. Yes, the Torah wants us to help each other. The Torah does expect us to truly make sure that we are one unit and we take care of others. And sometimes, yes, I do need to share with my friend something that I might see that shouldn't really be the way he's doing it. However, there are two ways to see what exactly is happening. One way is just to look at the bottom line and to try and help the person with the bottom line. The other way is to see the story, right? So if someone's talking in the middle of davening, you can see the fact that he is now talking when he shouldn't be talking and disturbing perhaps the community. But there is another way that people sometimes see things. Sometimes people see things and the whole story behind it. This person is very disrespectful to me, very disrespectful to everyone. What does he think to himself? Why is he doing that? Did no one teach him any manners? Did no one teach him any respect? That is where a person is making out of the bottom line, out of the action, he builds up a story. And when he builds up a story in this case, this isn't the way that the Torah wants us to interact with our friends. Don't make it a whole story. And let's go back to the story that we started off with, which is Noach and him getting basically drunk. And what we see with the story of Noach and him getting drunk is that, yes, the two other sons knew exactly what the situation of the father was. The only difference between them and Ham is that Ham looked at the father. They didn't look at the father. And the Rebbe interprets the story in this way. If someone is unfortunately without clothes, right? And this is, again, metaphorically. Just do the technicality part of things. Just go and cover him. Don't look at it. Don't make it out of it a story. The problem with Ham wasn't only him looking at his father, but it was basically bringing a story, making a story out of it, making, so, and this many times this happens, even within family, with discussions that we might have. So someone said something that I don't like. So there are two ways to react to it. There's one way that we could react to it in a way that, okay, he said something, I'm going to tell him, don't say that, it's not acceptable, and leave it at that. And then there's building a story out of things. Building a story out of things always leads to the wrong place. This is what the Torah tells us, that, yes, we must be precise. We must be very, very accurate with our behavior and language, but only when it comes to the halacha, which means to come to, okay, tachlis, which means bottom line, what do I need to do? What are the actions that I need to take, that I need to actually carry out in this case? Yes, you have to do everything that takes you to help the situation, even if it's sometimes uncomfortable. Perhaps it's uncomfortable. Imagine I'm waking up the next morning, Noach waking up the next morning, and he knew exactly what happened last night. He probably felt very, very uncomfortable in front of his sons. But we all know when it has to do with technicalities, it's fine. If it's a story, and now interpreting what happened, oh, he got drunk, and how could this possibly be? We just left the ark. Why are you getting drunk in such a situation? That is judging someone else. We don't want to judge someone else. We want to help someone else. Judging someone else is putting him in an uncomfortable position. And this is the meaning of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov tells us that when you see a story, when you're trying to judge your friend about a certain behavior, it means that you are currently in that situation yourself. And there's bad within you that you see in your friend, but that's within you because you are not seeing the technical side of things. You're not trying to fix the situation. Sometimes a person might try and build a story out of something very, very small, or it could be, again, something very big. But if he doesn't see, if he sees just the technicalities, so he can stop over there. He can help with what's needed, and that's how he fulfills his mission in this case. So this is the story of Noach. This is the story of the way that we should truly deal with Hamas and with terrorists. And yes, even in situations that we might feel that there's time to use better language, the Torah says no. Or better actions, the Torah says no. We are in war, and in war we have to make sure that we take the full measurement in order to protect the lives of Am Yisrael, the lives of the soldiers, and the lives of the Jews, actually, frankly, all around the world. Let's talk also a bit about positivity and how to be most certain about our victory and about struggles that might come across in our lives. So for that, I'm just going to move, because the battery is about to die. I'm just going to move to the laptop. Great. So let's speak also a bit about the whole concept and the whole idea of positivity in our times, in our days, and also in general. We want to leave the shir today with the feeling that we are certain, most certain of our victory, most certain of our safety, most certain of the safety of the soldiers. Here is a great technique in order to use this. And this is based on a story and on a sikha of the Rebbe. Might be a story that you've heard, or at least the quotation that we know from the story, I'm sure that you definitely have heard of. The story is of the Tzemach Tzedek. One of his Hasidim had a son that was very, very ill. He did not feel well at all. And he knew that his only option is basically to go to the Tzemach Tzedek and to ask for a blessing. He went to the Tzemach Tzedek and asked for a blessing. And the Tzemach Tzedek told him, Trach gut, vet sein gut, which means, that's from Yiddish, the idea is think positive, think good, and it will be good. Think good, and it will be good. The end of the story is that this chassid basically worked on himself and thought positive, thought good. When he came back to his hometown, he actually saw that his son completely recovered. What is this story? What is the meaning behind the story? How is this possible? How is this real? It sounds like science fiction. Like if you would go to the bank and you would tell him, even though they say you are whatever in minus, you owe us a lot of money, and we would say to the bank, I think good, I think positive. The bank is not really going to accept that as some kind of real solution for this problem, right? It doesn't help. You can tell people you're going to think good. Yes, of course you will think good, and it's something that's nice to have, but you can't really build on it. So how does it work? And another thing is remembering that Hasidus does not require us to live in space, to space out, to avoid reality, to try and challenge the laws of physics. No. Hasidus was brought and introduced here to the world and to us in order for us actually to live according to Judaism, to make our Jewish life and Jewish practice more real. That's why, for example, there's a big role of simcha in Hasidus. Hasidus speaks all the time about simcha. And this is common to all types of the Hasiduyot. Within Hasidus, there are many types of Hasiduyot, right? You have Chabad, you have Breslev, you have Belz, you have Gur, you have Satmar. Everyone, no matter what, they all put a big emphasis on happiness, on simcha. And why is that? Because this is what makes Judaism more real, more alive. So in other words, when we say think good and it will be good, it's not to try and for one reason or another try convince people that they should avoid reality and they shouldn't feel and they shouldn't think in a conventional way. Let's start thinking unconventional and hope that things will be better. Not at all. There is a very strong message behind this idea of think good and it will be good. And there are two levels. Level number one is connected also to what Shakespeare once said. And it's not only Shakespeare, but this is something that is well known. Shakespeare, in his letters, he used it. And he said that there is no real existence of bad. It is all up to the person that is observing it, the person that is witnessing or experiencing what happens around him. And I'm not sure if that's exactly his words, but that was his idea. Many people take this path in positivity. They use this method, and they use it in order to help. Yes, we want to make sure that everything has a solution. We don't look to obstacles as something that can stop us, but we look at obstacles as something that we can truly overcome. We can truly overcome, And not only that we can truly overcome, but this is a new opportunity to grow. And this can bring me to a new level, to a higher level. So think good and it will be good means that if something bad seems to be happening, first of all, try look at and focus on the solution. Try and bring a better interpretation to what's happening around us. And this is the first, more logical way of understanding things. And again, it's a method that is well known also amongst Gentiles, but there's a higher level to thinking positive. And the higher level has to do with understanding the relationship between us and Hashem. And this is one of the things that you can try it, but you've got to be sincere. So the idea is basically that we connect to Hashem in a way that we fully rely on him. We are fully connected to him. We rely on him totally, no matter what. And this brings us Hashem's reaction to our trust. And he says, you know what? I am trustworthy. And this, we can also understand it. It's not a science fiction. If you know of someone in your personal life that totally relies on you, you will give anything to make sure that he can actually truly rely on you. You want to prove that you are trustworthy. Imagine there's someone out there in the world that he says that there is one person that I fully rely on. I 100% rely on him. I don't question him. I know he'll always be there for me. He'll always make sure that there will be good things happening to me. Well, in that case, if he has the ability to do such a thing, if he's honest, and we know that Hashem is, he has the ability and he's honest, he's sincere. In that case, Hashem says, you know what? You fully rely on me. I am going to show you that you can rely on me, that I'm trustworthy, that I can make the impossible happen. So even if the son of this chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek was not feeling well, and he was really not feeling well, however, the chassid said, you know what, I trust Hashem fully. I think good. I think that it's actually he's actually 100% going to be better. In this case, Hashem says, I'm going to grant him with a miraculous cure because he fully trusts in me. Now, where's the tricky side of things? Why isn't it something so common? Why is it something challenging? Because you have to be what is called all in. If you are trusting Hashem completely, that means that you don't even doubt him slightly. So if we go back to this chassid, if he truly trusted Hashem, he was already ordering a catering for the Seudas Haidaya, the Seudah where we thank Hashem for that miracle. That means that we are sincere as well. If we are sincere with Hashem and we say, I fully rely on you, but you honestly fully rely on him, you're not taking it as a backup plan, and you don't have a backup plan to relying on Hashem. Because if you have a backup plan to relying on Hashem, that means that we don't really rely on him. We have to have a certain backup. And Hashem says in a case where we truly rely on him, he is prepared to grant us with a miraculous special type of protection. So today we think about what's happening around, and there are so many questions, and we have too many questions. How could this have happened? Where was the army? Why aren't we already conquering Gaza? Or many other questions. We can remember that we are in the hands of Hashem, and we can think that we can think positive that Hashem will grant us with a miraculous victory, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we will have the zchut, the merit, to see these miracles very, very quickly. Thank you very, very much for taking part in the shir today.